I just got back from seeing Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day in IMAX for the size and sound. 35mm film, anamorphic lenses, a wide 2.39:1 frame, and a John Williams score at the age of 94. And it wasn't lost on me that this could be the last time Spielberg and Williams team up like this. Okay, so as you probably already know, this is not lean Spielberg like the old days, Jaws, or Close Encounters of the Third Kind. This is Spielberg in maximalist sci-fi mode. Spoilers starting now, so if you don't want to hear them, get out of here. I'm warning you. Let's start with the characters. Emily Blunt plays Margaret Fairchild, a Kansas City meteorologist whose life starts to unravel when she realizes she can understand the thoughts and emotions of people as well as an alien language. Josh O'Connor plays Dr. Daniel Kellner, a brilliant, anxious number savant who has proof that aliens exist and that humans have the right to know. Colin Firth plays Noah Scanlon, the head of Vortex, a powerful corporation that has spent years hiding the truth and controlling this alien technology. Colman Domingo plays Hugo Wakefield, a Vortex insider who decides the secret has gone on too long. And Eve Hewson plays Jane Blankenship, Daniel's girlfriend and a former nun, who gets pulled into the conspiracy while wrestling with her own questions of faith and guilt and trust. That gives the movie its central conflict. Who gets to know the truth and who gets to decide? There are obvious parallels between Disclosure Day and Spielberg's 1977 alien classic Close Encounters of the Third Kind. In Close Encounters, Roy and Gillian have separate but connected UFO experiences, and their bond becomes a kind of shared sanity as the government hides what it knows. Everyone around them thinks they're unraveling, but they're really being pulled towards something larger than themselves. Margaret and Daniel also know something other people cannot accept. Margaret's boyfriend doesn't believe her, much like Roy's wife can't follow him into what he's experiencing. So Margaret and Daniel are pushed into their own strange partnership. I'll just say it now, I like Close Encounters a little more, and that comparison proves something important. You do not need an enormous budget to tell an enormous story. Close Encounters, in my opinion, is more focused. It's about ordinary people being called toward a mystery they don't fully understand. The wonder has room to breathe. Disclosure Day is bigger and more crowded. It has more characters, more mythology, more action, and more ideas competing for space. Sometimes that gives the movie real sweep and more depth in some ways. Sometimes it makes the emotional through line harder to hold on to. And maybe this is where the hype worked against it for me. There was so much mystery around Disclosure Day that I expected the central reveal to be stranger, newer, or more surprising. But in the end, it was aliens again. The aliens drive the plot, but they're not really the point. Daniel has proof that aliens exist. More than that, he has proof that humans are the problem. So the real question is, do you hide the truth because you think people can't handle it, or do you trust them enough to tell them what it is? That feels very current. We live in a country where disagreement gets flattened into combat. As I'm sure you're very well aware, comment sections reward certainty, rage, and contempt, while nuance gets treated like weakness. Daniel represents logic, Margaret represents empathy. One can prove what's happening, the other can feel what it means. Spielberg seems to be saying that truth alone is not enough. To process a terrifying truth, people need facts, but they also need emotional capacity to hear them. Now the plot problems. Some of them are basic thriller problems. The corporate agents are far too incompetent. After a while, it becomes difficult to believe this massive, ruthless organization cannot catch one anxious hacker and a weather woman who's barely holding herself together. But the bigger issue for me is the torture video. Early in the movie, Daniel changes his mind about keeping the alien secret because he sees footage of an alien being tortured. He shows it to Jane, and both of them are horrified. That scene gives Daniel's mission its ethical force. He's not just trying to prove that aliens exist. He's trying to expose what looks like a war crime. Then the movie largely drops it. The torture video's not meaningfully brought back. Scanlan's revealed as the man protecting the system, but there's no real reckoning for what was done under his watch. And when the big disclosure moment happens on national television, the torture footage is not part of the reveal. That felt like a major omission. If Daniel's reason for going public is the torture and mistreatment of an alien being, then the final truth can't just be aliens are real. It also has to be, this is what humans did to them. Daniel's trust in Jane also makes no sense. Okay, after he sees that she's been taken over by Scanlan, he doesn't trust her with the motel address, which is fair because she's already been compromised. Then he gives her one of the most powerful alien devices. That's not just a small inconsistency. It undercuts Daniel's entire survival instinct. Scanlan's reversal also happens too quickly. This is a man who has spent his life hiding the truth, controlling alien technology, and chasing Daniel. I mean, he put a hit out on him. Then Margaret confronts him, projects the image of his dead wife, and suddenly his entire worldview shifts. The scene works emotionally, but as story logic, it feels abrupt. A man who's protected a life for decades probably needs more than a devastating vision to abandon his enterprise. Jane's arc also feels underdeveloped. We know she has guilt around her father, but that thread never fully pays off. When the movie reconstructs her childhood home, it feels like we're building toward a reckoning with her dad or her past. Instead, it becomes a doorway back to what happened the night she and Daniel received their abilities. It's not a bad idea, but it leaves Jane's emotional setup feeling unresolved. The religious theme has the same problem. The movie sets Jane up for a larger spiritual kind of awakening, then resolves most of it with a phone call and a line about losing faith in people, not God. It's a strong line. It just feels like the beginning of an idea, not the full expression of one. And because so much of the beginning of the movie focused on it, it sort of just fell apart toward the middle and end. Alien also feels strangely quaint. In a world where UAPs, government disclosure, and artificial general intelligence are already part of the public conversation, the idea that aliens are real does not land with the same force it might have decades ago. I also think the alien design is way too familiar. There's no great shock of recognition or awe. The reveal mostly confirms what we already knew. But the action works. There are sequences in this movie that have pure adventure movie pleasure. Margaret using the alien device to hide the house replica so the bad guys run straight into it is ridiculous and completely fun. Those are the moments where I stopped caring so much about the logic. Spielberg's not really a logic-first filmmaker. He's not Nolan. He's not Fincher. He's a feeling filmmaker. And it really shows in this movie. Emily Blunt gives the film its emotional center. She has to carry grief, panic, awe, and moral clarity through some of the movie's strongest turns, and she makes it all feel lived in rather than ridiculous. What moved me most is that the film is ultimately about communication, not just alien communication, human communication. How hard it's become to hear each other, how easy it is to distrust each other. We turn other people into enemies before we even understand what they're saying. Margaret's power is that she can feel other people. She can hear them. She can understand them. She can carry their pain. And the final message of the movie is one word: listen. That's why this movie ultimately worked for me. It is messy. It is heavy-handed. Some of the logic is ridiculous. And I still think Close Encounters is probably the better overall Spielberg alien movie. But Disclosure Day is Spielberg back in big emotional sci-fi mode with John Williams still scoring at 94, and I was completely taken by it. It really feels like a movie that is made for today.